Today's episode of Mark 42's WHOniverse is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/Marku42. There are over 150,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. You lucky guys. That's www.audibletrial.com/Marku42. And now, here's the show.
Hi, this is Norman Lovett, who played Holly in the sci-fi sitcom Red Dwarf. And
this is Danny John-Jules. I'm the cat from Red Dwarf and Dwayne from Death in Paradise. And you are listening to Mark 42.
Welcome to Mark 42. That's right, Mark 42, Doctor Who, and Beyond the WHOniverse on Krypton Radio. I'm your host, Mark Baumgarten, on the very first show of 2017, and with me today is...
Christian Basel. Welcome, guys. Welcome to 2017. Thank
2017, it's going to be a great... Well, yeah, it's going to be a great year.
It is going to be a great year.
It's going to be a great year. It's going to be a different year. It's going to be a huge year. It's going to be great.
As much as 2016 was kind of downtrodden because of all the passings and everything that happened and the election and all that stuff, I would say our program had a great year. We went to Dallas. You went to Oklahoma. We've done over 20 conventions. So I'm not going to disavow 2016. I think it was great, but I am looking forward to this new year. This is going to be awesome.
Because in 2017, we get to review new episodes of Doctor Who. We got a season. We got a whole series coming out. It's going to be great.
It is going to be great. I'm very excited, and already we've got a few interviews already lined up for the month of January going into February. We've already got conventions we'll mention at the end there. I mean, this is very exciting stuff that's coming up over here.
Should we tell them who's going to be on today's show?
Yeah, absolutely.
Who's going to be on today's show? Who are we interviewing in just a few minutes from now?
We have Norman Lovett from Red Dwarf, Holly, the original Holly, and we have a special surprise guest. If you've been reading stuff and seen this link, you already know who it is, but if you haven't, this will be a surprise to you. But definitely...
Norman doesn't know.
Norman doesn't know. But for folks who are big Dwarfer fans, Red Dwarf fans, you are in for a very, very awesome ride here.
Yeah, I think we'll just tell him. Danny John-Jules,
yes,
who played Cat. The cat is on the show.
Hey,
we got the cat and a computer on the show.
Well, that's our title.
Oh, is that our title? Wow, I came up with a title.
There you go.
Wow. I come up with these just like that. Okay, so let's get this show started with the news. And with the news, we've got... Well, I guess we've got Christian.
Give me my jingle.
All right, we're hitting the jingle. And now it's time for news of the Doctor Who and Beyond the WHOniverse world with your correspondent and our favorite man on the street is Christian Basel.
Favorite man on the street. Nice.
Well, you'll get to do an interview because you've done interviews, man on the street before.
Oh, there you go.
Favorite man on the street.
Well, the news segment of this portion of Mark 42 has been brought to you by, and I can't believe I'm actually saying this because I think it finally deems us as a legitimate radio show, Mark 42 shirts. They're being sold upon about KryptonRadio.com.
If you go to KryptonRadio.com and go to their store listing.
Or you can go on our site, Mark42.net, go about midway to the right, you will see the T-shirts. And believe it or not, Mark has actually set it up so if you click on the guy shirt, it will take you to the guy site. If you click on the girl shirt, it will take you to the girl site. So
that's what a certificate in web design gets you to be able to do.
Oh, there you go. Well, you get to not only pick your selection of shirts, but they're reasonably priced. The starting price for the shirts are $12.95 plus tax, and of course they go up a little bit depending upon the size you have there. Shipping, just a little bit of a nominal fee, but we have a lot of people. As soon as we made the announcement that we were providing shirts, everybody completely went ape and started buying them, and they're still out there.
And they're not just the black shirts; there are 3 color shirts.
Yes.
3 color shirts in men and women styles.
Yes, black, white, and silver, or gray, however you want to see that gray.
Yeah.
But definitely check them out so you can sponsor even more sites, and you get to see very fashionable wear on your body when you're going into work and when you're going to the conventions, when you're going into play. Everybody sees the Mark Who42 logo and, hey, what's that? And I said, this is a great podcast you got to listen to, and I'm wearing the shirt. So there you go.
It's also sponsored by Mark Who42 Books. We sell rare Doctor Who books at an affordable price. Go to Amazon.com/shops/Mark Who42 for that. So the news is sponsored by a lot of people.
Yes, it definitely is. Well, people who patron the website and our shoe shirts, thank you so much. So we can have news coming up there. And speaking of which, I hate to start on a Debbie Downer, and that pun was completely not intended. Not at all. I just blurted it out. I'm sorry. But as we mentioned in the previous episode where Mark did a nice little remembrance for Carrie Fisher, the day following after Carrie's passing, her mother passes away, Debbie Reynolds. I mean, it was just a sad thing. Something to the fact that Debbie said that I want to be with Carrie. And surely enough, I hate to say it this way, but she got her wish. So 2 lovely actresses, 2 icons in the Hollywood crown are gone, are taken from us there. So Debbie unfortunately passed at the age of 84. So our hearts and our prayers and our hopes go for the family, definitely, and all the fans who were affected by this. This is like I said, 2016 could just not walk out the door without screaming and kicking the door and shoving the door on the way out. It had to take out 2 more people. And for me personally, even though it's not really a sci-fi, but it's a geekdom for me, Christopher Williams, who played Father Mulcahy, had passed. He was on MASH, and I believe I think we can safely say the last celebrity victim of 2016. But we now enter 2017 with open arms, open eyes, open heart. We are ready to take on a new year and to be completely better than we were before last year. And speaking of something that is better, believe it or not, the return of Dr. Mysterio got ratings that were much better than ever before on BBC America, not only bringing in 1.7 million viewers. I think that's the highest for that station. But the social media just took off completely. Call it what you will. We had the review in the last episode if you want to hear it. We also did an interview with Nick Briggs, but you get our take on us on Dr. Mysterio. But as far as being its own episode, I actually liked it. And I had mentioned when Iggy and I went on Krypton Radio, I actually got to see it with a bunch of Whovians in the theater, and actually I appreciated it more. And not because I'm going to change my ratings or anything, because that's how I felt when we were doing the review, but I think I was in a different setting. First of all, if you are in a group of people who have a geekdom in that, invested into what they're watching, you're watching with an audience of Whovians, the show's much more funnier, the show's much more entertaining, and plus I wasn't sitting down there being critical. I wasn't looking out for details or anything like that. I just let the show happen. And I thoroughly enjoyed it a hell of a lot more than I did when I was sitting home. I really can't describe it why, except for maybe those 2 reasons. I was with a bunch of Whovians, and it was something I was saying, I'm going to enjoy this. I'm not going to review it. I'm actually going to sit down and be entertained by it. So, and I think you went to the theater, right?
No, I didn't go.
You didn't go?
No.
Oh, okay.
We had a viewing party at Weekend TARDIS.
Oh, well, you had a viewing party. You didn't see it in theaters, but you had a viewing party there. So, more power to it. Doctor Who taking off again, setting new records on BBC America, and we hope to see more of it in coming years. We also had our take on Bill, and I think it's Bill Potts now.
Bill Potts.
She's got a last name. So if you want more information, download last week or listen to last week's episode with special guest Nick Briggs from Big Finish, talking about the future of Big Finish itself to wrap up the rig gear with a Big Finish. So,
that was the reason I had him on, so we could make that pun.
There you go. If you're just joining with us, too, we have gone through a regeneration process, and we can't wait to tell you more about this regeneration process for Mark Who 42. I guess we can consider it now 3 or 4.0.
Yeah.
Things are happening as we speak, but unfortunately, to do this change...
We're at the Tom Baker of Mark Who 42.
We are at the Tom Baker.
Yeah.
Well, if we are at the Tom Baker, then things are really going to pick up there.
Things are really going to go uphill there.
So we've had to go through a regeneration process, unfortunately. So if you have iTunes or have an account on iTunes, you will have to go back to Mark Who 42 and subscribe, and please give us a review. Of course, a 5-star review and nothing less. Yeah. But tell us what you think. No, seriously, tell us what you think. Give us a review. You'll have to subscribe again, but trust me, the new episodes that are coming up on Mark Who 42, you definitely want in your arsenal of listening, because it is going to be phenomenal, just as much as this episode is going to be totally phenomenal. And there's a lot more happening as the days and weeks progress that we would love to tell you. We just want to make sure our ducks are in a row before we go any further with this information. But things are changing.
But for the iTunes store, you just look up Mark Who 42 or Doctor Who Mark Who 42. The reason being, we want as many new subscribers in the first 2 months starting January 1st. So by the end of February, we want as many subscribers and reviews as we can, because the way that iTunes works, your listing gets moved up in the first 2 months depending on your traffic. So please be a car and use our highway.
That's interesting description, but I'll take it.
Well, I said traffic, so
right, yeah. Well, we just want to let people know that if you're not seeing us on our iTunes and you're not seeing the new episodes, you definitely want to go ahead and go back to iTunes, make sure that you are subscribed or resubscribe, and if you definitely want to let us know how we're doing, please, 5-star rating only, but it's okay. If you go back and just tell us how you feel about your favorite podcast, Mark Who 42, to let people know that what your geekdom is about for our radio show, and to let new subscribers know, hey, this is something that they want to stick around. This is something that they want to listen to on a weekly basis and come back to every single time we have a new guest, we have a new review, we have a new episode. You'll definitely enjoy what we're doing here. And please do that. Please do that. Help us become the number one podcast out there. And then you can say, hey, I knew when those guys were.
When they weren't number one.
When they weren't number one. And that, my friends, because of the length of episode we have today, is the news.
We've got a birthday, and I'm going to play the theme like you got to play the theme, so I'm going to play the theme for a birthday.
Okay.
Over the weekend that just passed, it would have been William Hartnell's birthday. I mean, it is his birthday, but if he was still alive. So he was the first Doctor, and I definitely wanted to say happy birthday to William Hartnell, wherever he may be in the WHOniverse. Happy birthday!
Yeah, the man who started it all, the man who brought us Doctor Who and the template of how at least 12 other actors would play it, and if you call it the War Doctor and everybody else. But yeah, happy birthday to wherever you are, Mr. Hartnell. Thank you so much for giving me a geekdom that I think is the most wonderful thing on this planet and the universe.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to take a break now. When we come back, we are going to have our interview, our Back to the Red interview with Norman Lovett and Danny John-Jules, Holly, and Kat. We're going to have them right when we come back here on Mark Who 42, so stick around.
Yeah, baby.
Coming May 19th through the 21st, Oasis 29 continues to celebrate excellence in science fiction and fantasy. Oasis 29 will take place at the Sheraton Orlando North Hotel, featuring special guest writer Faith Hunter. The best way to see Oasis 29 is with your 3-day weekend membership pass. Your pass will include full admission to all the art exhibits, dealer rooms, guest speakers, writing panels, and of course, a special appearance by your favorite Doctor Who podcast, Mark Who 42. A con suite for nourishment will be available on site. For more information, hotel rooms, and purchase for your tickets, including student discounts, go to www.oasfis.org/oasis. Oasis 29 is an event that promotes safe and fun environment for the entire family and upholds that cosplay is not consent. We look forward to seeing you there.
The voice of Christian Basel, take one.
Hi, I'm Christian Basel, and I would like to provide my voice for all your voiceover needs, such as...
Okay, like an announcer.
Like a what?
Like an announcer.
For all your voiceover needs, such as animation, radio, announcements, introductions...
Now an old man.
I can even record voicemail for all the Meshuggahs that call you.
A pirate.
Arr, and it won't cost you a lot of treasure for me services. Arr.
Creepy movie voice.
Just call 407-761-2679. 407-761-2679. Or email voiceofchristianbasil@yahoo.com. Well, how was that?
That's a wrap.
Hello, I'm Nicholas Briggs,
the voice of many monsters on Doctor Who,
and executive producer of Big Finish Productions. And I'm pleased to announce that Mark Who 42 Books have joined forces with Big Finish to bring you Big Finish Audio.
There's this fella who calls himself the Doctor, and he says he has saved me, and we are in his time machine.
You all right? I think I've broken something. What about you?
Yes, I'm fine, thanks.
I rather think I broke your fall.
Oh, sorry.
Mark Who 42 Books will now offer to bring you the best in Big Finish Audio.
But why are they here?
How do you do?
I beg your pardon?
Oh, no need to. I'm the Doctor, and this is...
I am Leela.
By all means, please do come out to play, Doctor. I'm waiting for you.
To find where Mark Who 42 Books will be, go to markwho42.net or on their Facebook site at Mark Who 42.
What are you saying? They fizzled in somehow, like the TARDIS?
Yeah, transmat from another dimension. The TARDIS doesn't fizzle. It's more of a...
Also go to markwho42.net and download my interview with the team.
You're executive producer at Big Finish Productions.
Correct.
Correct.
Is this a quiz?
Mark Who 42, taking you to the WHOniverse and beyond.
Hello, this is Trev, out of Trev and Simon.
And this is Simon, out of the newly named Simon and Trev.
But you're still listening to Mark Who 42.
Welcome back to Mark Who 42. That's right, Mark Who 42 on Krypton Radio. I'm your host, Mark Baumgarten. With me is Christian Basel.
Howdy, howdy.
And we have our very special guest. And I always say special guest, but this time it's even more special because we had a technical hiccup with him before, but we've got him back. It's Norman Lovett.
So they're all going, who?
No. Well, Norman played Holly on Red Dwarf.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you can fill them in.
Yeah, we'll fill it.
Norman, you'll be surprised how many people in our geekdom know Red Dwarf. I mean, British sci-fi.
Yes, I was only jesting, really.
Yeah,
jesting.
One of my favorite characters, and I had a problem when you left the show, and they replaced you with your alternate universe counterpart.
Yeah, it was a parallel universe that Hattie had done in the second series, I believe, where we all met our opposites. And in the end, when I did leave, I didn't want to leave, by the way, but it was just forced upon me, unfortunately. But they said to me, they kept in touch with me, we kept talking and everything, and they said they would replace it with a character nothing like me, you know. And I said, oh, yeah, I'll believe that when I see it. And, of course, they didn't. Like, actually, Cassie, do you know Cassie Burke? Have you heard of the actress Cassie Burke?
I think I've heard of her, yeah.
Yeah, she's a good comedy actress. She's really good. She's one of those very honest people. And they chose her to do an audition for it. And apparently, she just said, these are Norman's lines. That's what she said. She's a real cockney. She's, these are Norman's lines. You know, she's just honest. She directs as well, so she knows her stuff, you know. But, yeah, they just played it, and they played it safe, I suppose. But really, a lot of people said, well, why is she doing men's lines? You know, it was like she was still could have been me. I don't know. I didn't watch it after I left. I was very upset. I didn't watch. I've looked at some of the episodes, obviously since, but at the time after I left, I never watched any of them because I didn't want to leave the thing. You know, I just didn't want to leave.
Loved it when Nanarchy came on in Red Dwarf. I guess that would have been the end of Red Dwarf 6 or 7. When
Seven. That's when I came back and I was on Lister's watch.
Yeah.
Not Lister's watch. His watch, and I was taking the Mickey out of Crichton's face, telling him, "Where do you get your razor blades at a service station or something?" You know, look at that face. I was really taking the Mickey. Is it? You know, that's the character, isn't it? It is. Cheeky, and you know, it was good, and the audience just went mad. They were so excited because it was a pre-record and they just played it to the audience, but they were all excited to see me there. And of course,
then
I was
the
back.
Nanobites reconstructed the ship, and back in the red, you were back.
Nanobots, yeah, in Series 8.
Yeah.
It was weird going back though because the writers had split up, and I thought, oh my God, Rob's not there. You know, but Doug's doing it on his own, right? Okay, you know, because they were a great writing team. I mean, some of that stuff in the first and second series, the writing and the jokes are just fantastic, you know. But you know, I did a few jokes. There were jokes that got laughs. Yeah, they got laughs. Yeah.
I was that's probably one of my all-time favorite scenes. When they're driving back into the red, and then and you say that iconic line that sticks with me, and I've seen T-shirts. I hope we don't get stopped by the cops. They don't like it when you run to us. And I had to go, what is that exactly? I actually had to look that up, but I was laughing my butt off.
That's Craig came up with that.
Are you serious?
That's typical the Scouser, isn't it? He came up with that, and Doug grabbed it, because we're always allowed to offer lines and offer ideas, and if Doug liked it, he'd just go yeah or no. But yeah, that was Craig's joke. I don't know where he stole it from, but it's got in there. It was funny. Yeah, it's very funny.
I have to explain to fans who may not be familiar with Red Dwarf, as I was at the time, because when I first saw it, it was on, believe it or not, a friend's VHS tape who he lent me, which had one of at the time there was, back in, I think in the 90s, there were like 3 20,000 Leagues that came out on ABC, NBC, CBS, all those guys. And at the tail end, as the tape continued, there was this scene in a spaceship that I was like, well, this is interesting. And it was the dog's milk scene. Which is, on top of the Rada scene, is my favorite scene of all time. This is what attracted me to Red Dwarf.
Yeah, the humour was fantastic, and it still stands up today, that joke. A lot of the jokes still stand up today. That's why there's a whole lot of young people, you know, with Danny the cat. They love the cat because he's very funny, doing his James Brown, you know, Danny's great. And, yeah, that people ask my favourite. Of course, I always say Queeg was my favourite episode because it was a Holly episode.
It was a Holly episode.
The dog's milk scene would be up there in the top 10 or top 5, I think.
What was interesting is that I didn't even know it was broken up on the tape. In fact, he recorded over Red Dwarf. So that was the first thing I saw of Red Dwarf ever, is this broken up episode.
Isn't that weird? You saw that and you just thought, I like this, yeah.
Yeah, it was
that's good, yeah.
And it was cut up. I mean, he recorded over, but I was just like, I was trying to see if I could see this because I wanted to know what this show was. And I bet you did. Didn't have the closing credits, nothing. It was the scene of the dog's milk. It was the Charmita scene. It was the cat scene where Cat is looking in the mirror and go, Eddie, buddy, you gotta help me out. And I was like, God, why isn't this on our screens? Why isn't this on our PBS? I was like, and I couldn't years.
It came over there later, didn't it, on the public channels in America?
It finally hit. It took a while, but Yeah, no,
took ages, yeah. And it's in Australia. I'm going to Australia. I believe I said this in the aborted one we did, the interview we did recently. Did I tell you I was going to Australia with Craig?
Yeah, yes, you're going to Australia 31st of January through 13th of February.
Yeah. And with Craig and Danny, and it's a shame because I feel weird about it, even though, I do feel weird that they'll all be going, Chris, they want Chris if they've been watching all the latest episodes, the latest 2 episodes. But Chris has a problem with, people who can't travel on planes.
Yeah.
It's a power thing. They can't accept
Christian is
it.
one of those people, actually. Christian is one of those people.
Well, I was at first. I had never flown, and I was afraid to. I just couldn't.
No, you've got to just give yourself to the plane. You've got to just say, I'm going to enjoy this, and there might be some up and down if we go through what is that bit where the plane drops in a bit of
the turbulence?
Turbulence, a bit of turbulence or whatever. And you just, don't get upset about it. It's just turbulence. It's okay.
A Fan Expo was kind enough to fly us both out to Texas to do a convention. It was the first time ever that our show went out of state from Florida. And they paid for our airfare, and I was sitting on the airplane, and I was just looking at the ground and looking at him, just like, oh, okay, this is nothing. And I was one of those nervous Nellies. I could not... Yeah. I couldn't stop shaking, and I was like, and as soon as we're in the air, I'm like, oh my God. And I took pictures and I put them all over Facebook, and I'm in the air. And then the moment hit when you get that reality of like, wait a minute, I'm thousands of feet up in the air over water. Then it started to sink in. I'm like, are these engines?
Yeah. No, you've got to go with it. And also you can enjoy the miracles of the world when you're in the air. If you get some clear vision of snow-capped mountains and stuff, which I got when I went to Seattle in August, going over those mountains, I just thought, that's it, that's a miracle. That's just a miracle. It just looked beautiful. And that's how I treat it, you're seeing a miracle.
Norman, we have a special treat for you. We've never actually done this before, and I'm going to try to get this to happen. We have someone who wants to say hello to you, and... okay. Hello?
Who's that? Hello? Who's that?
Who's on my show? I thought this was my session.
What's your name?
Who is this old man? I heard this was a young man show.
You calling me an old man? I am 70. I mean, fair, but ageism. There's too much ageism in the world.
No. Hold on, Norman.
All right, I will.
People are calling me an old man now.
How old are you?
I'm younger than you. That's why I have the right to call you an old man.
You're not a woman. You can tell me your age.
Danny, Norman, you can tell us your age. We won't hurt you.
You must be 40. You must be 39 or something.
Norman,
midlife crisis.
I'm 57 this year.
Oh, you've gone through the midlife crisis. You've done that.
I've had two of those, Norm.
It's quite funny.
I bought a car at 40 and a watch at 50. You know I'm in trouble.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Mark Who 42 WHOniverse, we have Kat and Holly on the same show. We've got Danny John-Jules and Norman Lovett.
What the bloody hell? I'm sorry, the line's not great, and I thought, I know that voice, because I did a radio thing with him. And I thought, he's a Cockney, he's 57. It's Dan, how are you? Where are you doing this from UK? Are you over there?
I'm probably round the corner from your house in some cafe. Norman's house is like Hollywood Boulevard.
No, it's not. I live in a bloody expensive flat, and it's not that good.
He sits on the high street, and thousands of people walk past him not knowing who the hell he is.
They do. And do you know what? I've got no problem with that. I really haven't.
In fact, you want it like that, don't you, Norm?
Yes, I think it makes it better when you do get recognised occasionally. You just enjoy those moments. But if it was all the time, I was reading someone moaning about fame, which you shouldn't do, really. If you're famous, you shouldn't go on moaning about it. It's part of the deal, isn't it?
Exactly.
Get a bloody hat.
What did they think they were entering? A monastery?
Well, yeah. Well, you're quite
business,
right.
Show business equals if you get famous, you get harassed. What don't they get about it? What don't they get about it?
Yeah,
I'm still waiting for my harassment.
They're working on it. They're working on it.
It's a bit difficult on radio.
We're great on the radio. Danny was coming in at this Sky Talk radio thing we were doing, and I'd done my bit about inviting 12 guests, and it was about cars. I said, why have you invited me? I'm not a fan of cars at all. They killed 2 people every minute in the world. And Dan's coming, and I said, I've got to hang on and see Dan, and it was great. We did some stuff together, and it was fantastic.
It was amazing. I got the shock of my life because I walked up the stairs, and I think Norman came out of the toilet, and we were literally staring each other in the face. And I was thinking, this guy looks like Norman Lovett.
I'm sorry. I didn't. I should have known it was you straight away. But believe me, Dan, the line is really weird from here. I tell you.
Yeah, Norman. He's a call-in guest.
Norman, let me bring you up to speed. What happened here? We had Danny. Somehow or another, the schedules got where we were going to interview you now, and Danny beforehand, just an hour before, and he ran a little late. And he came on, and he goes, "We were thinking about rescheduling," and I said, "Well, we have an interview." We have an interview with Norman now, and he goes, "Wait, no, I want to be on that interview."
We'll be in Australia.
It's exactly
we'll be in Australia soon.
That's right. You're both going to Australia.
Yeah, we'll be sick to death of each other by February the 13th.
Do you know Norman is becoming that in-law. That in-law that visits on Sunday. It's like the guy that visits on Sunday that nobody really. But the only reason they let him in is because he always brings a drink. We have lots of banter. We've always had loads of banter. Me, Dan, and Craig. Fresh, doesn't it, Norm? It keeps the brain fresh.
And Craig, being the. We were talking. Did you hear me say about that joke he put in about they don't like it when you rat us? Do you remember?
Yeah.
In Series 8, that was Craig's joke. He came up with that. I remember. And
it's gone on and on and on, hasn't it?
Yeah, it really, really likes the joke.
The funny thing is it's nearly an exact deja vu of the radio show we just did, because what's the first comment that came up is, actually, Danny's early. I couldn't believe it. Danny's actually early. And then, of course, now, Mark's he's just blown my cover saying I was late.
Yeah. I'm not going to forget
Christian.
that.
That wasn't me. That was Christian.
I'm not going to forget that, am I?
It was Christian.
It's impossible to. It's impossible. He was the most regular late person I've ever met in my life.
All of a sudden,
it was great.
I was turning up to conventions before Chris Barry and Hattie Hayridge, and Norman didn't have anything to slander me with. So
now, I know.
And this is one. I can now make Norman laugh with just one word, and I'm going to prove it to you now on live radio. Norman, stand by.
We're standing by.
Good.
Dan!
Oh God, yeah, Dan. They don't know what what we're talking about.
You must explain the joke. You must explain.
Do you know that? Do you know Alan Partridge?
Yes, I love Alan Partridge. Yes.
Well, that's a scene from his show where he sees his friend who's got a.
Dan. Okay. Yeah.
He's with his assistant. He's with his girlfriend. They're in a car park, and he sees Dan, who he loves. He's just met this guy. He's a bit of a weirdy sex bloke, and he's got a Lexi, and he met him in the service station, and he said, the guy said to him, I love the old Lexi, and when he said that, Alan Partridge went crazy, because that's what he says. He calls it the Lexi as well. So he's like, I've met my God, and then he sees him, says, it's Dan. Dan, he doesn't give up. You just think, stop. But he does about 10 of them. It's very funny. It's a very funny scene with just one word being repeated all the time. It's brilliant. Brilliant.
Oh.
Extraordinary.
That's
Did you guys see Alpha Papa when it came out that he did the Die Hard in a radio station? Steve Coogan can do no wrong. Alan Partridge.
Well, he does lots of other characters, and he did a film with Judi Dench, I believe, and he did well with that.
Philomena. He did Philomena with Judi Dench.
A lot of his other characters, to me, I just think you can't beat Alan Partridge. Yeah. It's impossible. It's just so good.
He actually had a new show called Happy-ish that just came out that is going to series 2 soon. That was really good. He plays an advertising executive who's married, has a kid, and he's kind of fed up with advertising, and it's just hilarious. They have to show it on cable because it's totally not appropriate for family viewing in America, but it's fun.
I don't know why we just don't bother with all this swearing and stuff. Everyone swears, don't they? I mean, it's just ridiculous.
But it works because the character. It works for the character.
Yeah. If it works, that's what I'm saying. Only use it if it's really necessary. But if it works for that,
Happy-ish
do
it was.
Yeah.
Smeg off, Mark Baumgarten.
Is Dan still there?
Well, yeah.
I'm still here, mate. Don't you worry.
Yeah, sorry, Dan. I've been ill, and I nearly cancelled this. I've got a cold and a cough and a.
I can hear it in your voice.
Yeah, you're supposed to starve a cold, and I haven't had any food today. It's quite right. You're not supposed to eat when you've got a cold, and that's what I'm doing. I can't eat. I don't feel like eating. And I just feel a bit sick now since I've been talking.
Okay,
I do talk
Norman,
a lot.
Well, thank you very much for coming on to Mark 42. We'll have you on again. We'll have you on again to do a proper interview. Can you stay on, Danny?
I'll stay here because I prefer that Norman wasn't on the same show as me.
Norman, we hope you feel better.
I hope so too. I really do. I just feel a bit sick now. All right.
Okay.
All right, Christian and Mark. I'll see you soon, Dan. See you soon.
I'll see you soon, Norman.
Yeah. Bye.
Thanks. See you later, mate.
Oh,
okay, Danny, now that Norman's gone, what do you really think about Norman?
He's the life and soul of the party. When I say life, I use that very sparingly. Because really, he's just he's just a quintessential moany old man. But he's been like that for 30 years. So, he was a moany young old man when we first met him. But that's what brings the gang together. We all can't be the same, and we are not the same. And you have Norman's personality, you have Craig, you have Chris's, you have mine, you have Robert's, and all these personalities amalgamated into one is what becomes Red Dwarf.
Right.
You put Doug Naylor's writing in the middle of all that, and in the early days, Ed By's directing, and that's what produces this 30-year running sitcom.
Yeah, it's been that long, hasn't it? It's been a
long time. When we were just talking to Norman earlier, I said the first time I saw Red Dwarf was on a VHS tape that somebody lent me that it was all broken up. They recorded a movie for me, and right after the end of it was the dog milk scene. And as I watched it, it was all broken up. It was the dog milk scene, the scene with you coming across the Charmita scene where you were coming around the corner and you couldn't pull yourself away from the mirror. So
Lister had spacesuit.
In the gold spacesuit, and then the scene that made me just say, I got to know what this show is, was the Charmita scene when you're all walking in and you see all the skeletons and you see this just beautiful thing happening. This robot who's just ignorant about, I'm serving all these dead women and these three guys trying to convince a robot. By the way, they're dead. Each one of them coming to a different approach. The strange thing about it is, the friend who lent it to me, Babington, I'm going to call him out on it, he erased the opening and the closing, so I never got to see what this show was about. Fast forward a few years later, it gets better, and then I find out it's a show called Red Dwarf, and I was watching the episode Crichton. And I have practically the anthology sitting on my table of DVD, because I just had a love for it. And that chemistry attracted me to Red Dwarf. And as much as I wanted to put it into first place, Doctor Who is my love, but Red Dwarf is a very close second.
Well, you know what? As an English kid, you know that Doctor Who was part of everyone's growing up. It's just whether you actually kept watching it and and became a fan, but every single person at some point in their life was brought up on Doctor Who. In England, I'm talking about. and we've been through so many doctors, as you know. But I mean, when I was a kid, that's what we did. We watched Doctor Who.
Did you have a favorite doctor?
Well, I must say, striding through the airport in Chicago with John Pertwee, was always... John Pertwee was my generation's doctor. Mm-hmm. And so you can't help but be drawn to that guy, and you'll find it becomes generational people's favourite doctor.
Right.
And John Pertwee was not only was he great Doctor Who, he was great in playing what's his name?
Wurzel Gummidge?
Wurzel Gummidge.
Yeah, Wurzel Gummidge. Oh, that was a great children's program.
That was so great. I mean, what a great character.
Yeah.
And then getting, I'm in a sci-fi convention with John Pertwee. And I've got the photograph though of us, sitting there, and this you could see the smile on my face as well, And of course, I've worked with Tom Baker doing talking books. Mm-hmm. I've worked with Tom Baker, and I've pretty much met all of the living Doctor Who's pretty much.
Cool. Do you watch the show now? Do you have time?
You know what? I haven't really had much time. Funny enough, I just finished working with Noel Clarke.
Mickey Rose's boyfriend, yeah, Noel Clarke.
Exactly. Yeah, I've just finished working with him. So I do still, get to pass through these guys, and I a lot of the old assistants are still around. I see them at the conventions, and it's still very much a close-knit community. Yes, the Doctor Who guys. I always see them all the time, and everybody's always very welcoming, and there's no competition as such. We just get on with it, and people are here to meet their science fiction heroes, and whether it be Doctor Who, you go along the table, the guy will get a signed photo from one of the Doctor Who's, and he'll jump to the next table and get a signed photo from one of the Red Dwarf cast, and down the road somebody maybe a Terminator or a Flash Gordon. Mm-hmm. These guys, a lot of them are very blinkered, but most of them are into sci-fi as a genre. And they don't have borders between the shows. They either like the show or they don't like it.
I see that as the beauty of what we have, because in America, when you have sports teams, you have that one particular team. You have the Dolphins or whatnot, and then you support it. People are shaving their heads, painting their faces, tattooing their bodies, but they focus on that. What I love about the science fiction world is that I love it when I see Capaldi's doctor and Rimmer, and somebody with a jacket with an H on their forehead walking in, and they're just shaking hands or they're interacting. So this universe is not. Some people still have that core. This is their favorite show, but I love it when I see people, and I think that's what's so loving about the science fiction community is that they're not going to lock out anybody. The true fans will say, I'm Red Dwarf, I'm Doctor Who, I'm Torchwood, I'm this and that, and that's what I love about going to these conventions.
Yeah, and another thing, what I say to people, I said, listen, I've been doing sci-fi conventions for nearly 30 years. I have never seen a fight at a sci-fi convention. It's the truth. I swear.
I haven't been to Miami yet.
I tell them, I said, I've never seen a fight at sci-fi, but I've seen a fight in every other genre of large gatherings that you could possibly mention, and there's been mayhem. And also, what you got to remember is, I don't know what it's like in America, but, I can go to the NEC in Birmingham, and there could be 20, 30,000 people walking around a convention, and beer is on tap, yet there still isn't this mass brawling and drunken, wanton violence around that you would get, say, in a music festival or, whatever. I mean, it is extraordinary.
Now, at these conventions, have you ever seen cosplayers dressed up as Cat?
Oh God, many times, yeah.
Many times.
Many times. Every single time there's one. I've got so many photos of, people dressed up as Cat or kids dressed up as Cat, and it's so many of them. It's just every time you step out the door and go to a convention, there will be someone dressed as a cat. It'll be men, it'll be girls, it'll be those that followed them in. It's all kinds of people dress up as the cat.
I have a dual question. First of all, for those of our fans and friends who may not be familiar with Red Dwarf, this is how I explain Red Dwarf in simplicity. And I said, if you could imagine Douglas Adams writing a TV series, I think Red Dwarf would be the answer. Would be a fair assessment on that, to describe that?
Yeah. And, I remember people like Terry Pratchett say, and you go around and I'm saying people are confused, people that are not, you're trying to explain to a friend who he is. I said, this guy's sold millions of books, man, sci-fi, man, this guy's incredible. And he stops them and says, no, man, he says, man, I love your character. They're so gracious. Here's a guy that sells millions of copies of books, and he turns around to someone and says he likes Red Dwarf, and in this, I love your character, and that kind of green light from someone like that, he's a person I used to see all the time at conventions.
The reason why I love Red Dwarf as one of my favorite sci-fis, and it's a comedy that has a mixture of slapstick but thought-provoking comedy, which British television is very known for. It has the mixture, but at the very end, you don't even know until the very end that there was a message this whole time.
There was a big message.
There was a big message, and you just get it at the end.
You were just going along and on the ride.
Exactly. It was, and it's just beautifully done.
It's like that big speech that Rimmer does dressed as Patton.
Oh,
yes. Yeah. Do you know that they didn't show that during the Iraq War?
Oh, seriously?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the BBC didn't show that when the Iraq War was on. Hey, that one shocked you, didn't it?
Yeah, that did shock me.
That's the truth, man. They didn't show that episode. Out of all the series, they held that one back.
Wow.
Across that valley lies an army of darkness such as mankind has never seen. The only thing between them and total victory is this pathetic pocket of resistance, without a leader, without a plan. And into this bleak arena steps a man. The man for the moment. Who? Me? Who'd you think, Pat Boone?
And there's another great one. There's another great one in Meltdown, the Waxworks one. The same one where Lister is saying, so what's in it for the Waxworks people? And all of that stuff. There's some still deep stuff there.
Now, I loved Red Dwarf, and our local PBS station showed it for years, but then one Sunday night, I came across another program, and I'm a big Robin Hood fan. I'm into this, and I think you now know where I'm going.
Yes.
And there was this really weird, funny take on the Robin Hood mythos.
The Robin Hood story, yeah.
Yeah, and you were in it. In fact, you were the star of it, in my opinion. And my question to you is, will Maid Marian and her merry men be returning? Because I've heard rumors.
Well, do you know what it is? I think that they're trying to get them to repeat it. Because what they did, they just brought out all the DVDs again. You got to remember this show, when it came out, the first series won 3 awards. I mean, it was unheard of. It won 3 at the very first series, and we ended up doing 4 seasons with pretty much nowhere to go after the first season. I mean, the only other thing after that was to win to win an Emmy. It won everything on the first series. It won the Laurence Olivier, it won the Royal Television, and it won the Prix Jeunesse, which is the best children's show in Europe. And when Maid Marian won it, the BBC hadn't won that for 10 years.
Just to jump back to Red Dwarf and the cult that has started, did you ever believe that you would be crossing the line to Series 11 now? And it's already out.
Yeah,
it came out, I believe, in the UK.
And by the way, I got to see it. It was great.
Yeah, and Series 12 has already been recorded.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes, it has.
I need to catch up.
You got to keep up with this.
Well, they don't.
Yeah, no,
they don't play it here yet.
We shot 2 series in one. Series 11 has gone out already. Series 12 will be released next year.
Now, for those who've watched Red Dwarf, and they kind of know that you're a singer because you sing and you dance because you did the Tongue-Tied song.
Yes,
that number was amazing. But what some people may not know is that you've been in other high-profile, maybe small parts, but high-profile movies with song and dance. You were in the Great Muppet Caper back in 1981.
The Great Muppet Caper, yes.
Little Shop of Horrors. Ragtime, yes. But I remember in Little Shop of Horrors, because when I saw, this is before Red Dwarf, but after I was into Red Dwarf, I went back and I watched Little Shop of Horrors, and in the middle of that opening number, for like 3 seconds, there you are, and I shout out, "There's Cat!"
Yeah, and we were singing the doo-wop.
The Downtown song. Was it Downtown, I think?
Yeah, I did some other voices in that number, for the cab driver when he goes, "And we go," all that bass stuff, and I did other voices on it.
Labyrinth.
Labyrinth.
You played two voices in Labyrinth, right?
That's right, but also when I did Little Shop, if you remember, two of those girls are big sitcom stars as well.
Yeah.
Two of the young girls. One of them was Martin Lawrence's
I remember.
And the other one was Everybody Hates Chris's mum was one of the girls as well.
Oh wow, I didn't realize that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those two girls were in that. Those were two of the three young girls. I think they were 15 at the time. I had loads of friends in the London stage version. A friend of mine that I shared a dress. In fact, the guy I was sharing a dressing room with when I auditioned for Red Dwarf used to do the voice of the plant in London, and he was white.
Oh yeah?
How about that one?
Wow.
Yeah, Gary Martin. Look him up. And Gary Martin also did some voices in Red Dwarf.
Okay.
Yeah, you see, I'm going to give you all the 6
blowing my
degrees of
mind.
separation here.
Danny John-Jules is blowing my mind.
Also,
doesn't take much.
Queeg, the guy who played Queeg in Red Dwarf.
Yes.
He was my mentor in musical theatre.
Christian was just telling me about that.
He choreographed Tongue Tied.
Wow.
He choreographed Tongue Tied, and he also choreographed the Blue Midget Dance.
Wow.
Yeah, he was Charles Oggins. Is that his name?
That's right.
Yeah, Charles Oggins.
He's back in America now. But he came over as the director and one of the stars of the musical Bubbling Brown Sugar in the mid-'70s.
Oh, okay.
All right.
My whole career was basically, if you see any show that I've done, I'll show you the musical theatre connection.
Here's another thing that Doctor Who fans might not know. I remember the old show Tomorrow People. They used to play it on Nickelodeon.
That's right.
And when they brought it back in 1995, you were actually in a story called The Living Stones. It was a 5-part story.
That's right.
You played Byron Lucifer.
Byron Lucifer, the rock star.
Yeah.
Do you know who else was in that movie?
Well, I'm sure you're going to tell me.
Yeah.
Who else was in it?
Naomi Harris from James Bond.
Wow.
Oh, God.
Oh.
Yeah. And if you look up another show that I did called Runaway Bay, you'll see that Naomi Harris was in that too at the age of 15.
Oh my God! Forget Kevin Bacon. This should be 6 degrees of separation with Danny John-Jules.
Mate, this will go on for hours.
That's Star Hike. You were on Star Hike with Claudia Christian.
Indeed, I was.
Yeah, you were Admiral Lenova.
I was the big chief.
Yes.
And again, that was obviously, and the reason for that was directly Red Dwarf. I mean,
it was direct.
That was it.
It was directly because of Red Dwarf. You got that?
Oh yeah. I mean, this is, I want you to do this. It wasn't, come in and have a read or come and have a meeting or a cup of tea. No, we need you in this. And that was it. It was very low budget. And people, as I say, I meet these ladies in conventions. The only one I haven't met is Terry Farrell, which we are very much linked as far as, and the pilot of the American Red Dwarf, obviously.
Yes.
Before Terry Farrell, it was a guy called Hinton Battle who played the cat.
Yes.
And Hinton Battle was who I wanted to be as a song and dance man.
Wow.
And because, this guy was the man. I mean, 3 Tony Awards. If you were black and you were into musical theatre, you wanted to be Hinton Battle. And then, the first, you can imagine, the first thing I said to Robert Llewellyn, who also appeared in the American pilot, was who played my part, And he went, Hinton Battle, and I went, Well, I should have been angry, but I was pleasantly surprised and honoured because I came from a musical theatre background. When they went to America, they went straight to the musical theatre man. And so to me, that was a big honour.
I'd be remiss to not mention the show that you're currently in, Death in Paradise.
Right. Yes.
You play Officer Dwayne Myers, and that show is I like that show. But you know what? I liked Morse, I like Endeavor, I like Lewis. So Death in Paradise kind of fits into my mood. Tell us a little about that show.
Well, it's like Midsummer Murders with swagger.
Yes. Where does it take place?
It takes place in the Antilles, which is, Montserrat, Dominica, St. Lucia, Antigua. And, my parents are from the next island along.
Oh.
So I speak the local language, which is Creole.
Mm-hmm.
Same as they speak in Haiti, in Martinique, in St. Lucia, in Dominica. So I was very much, that was my job. As soon as I read the script and went to the meeting, I knew it was my job. The only difference was that they made me come back 4 times. But, it's all good. And again, the 6 degrees in separation of that is that, it's Dwayne from Red Dwarf and Dwayne from Death in Paradise.
Gotcha. I have a question for you, and it just came up because I saw this on your website. You're on a series called Unlikely Bikers.
Oh,
Yay!
And I have a question. This is one because here in Florida, we have a large group of people who appreciate being a biker, and
yes,
they do a lot of charity events. There's Harley Davidson shops down here and such like that. And what is your passion for it? I'm not somebody who just doesn't get it. Me. Tell me what's your passion for a motorcycle. No, I'm dead serious. I've always been afraid to get on that because I'm like, I got a helmet and I'm open the wind and What do you like about doing it, and all these charities that you do for it as well?
Yeah, well, the thing is that when Ewan McGregor did his motorcycle show, it really, put the cat amongst the pigeons. Pun intended, exactly.
Pun intended.
Because it was like, okay, that sounds all right, but what they didn't see was that the truckloads of motorcycles that were being flown in. That those bikes were breaking all the time, and the BMWs and they made BMW motorcycles huge. And whereas the stuff that we did, there's no 15 producers riding ahead, setting everything up. What you see is what you get, and my first ride was 7,000 miles circumnavigating the Mediterranean, 16 countries in 16 days, doing between 500 and 600 miles a day.
Wow.
So, this is real stuff. Yeah, when an actor gets on a motorcycle, all the motorcyclists go, oh, here we go. Some lovey is going to be breastfed through some ride, with support vehicles and this, da. Whereas they couldn't say that about ours. And, we've produced 6 series of my motorcycling. Now, I love going to the races. I go to the Grand Prix, but it all started. I was in a musical called Soul Train in Derby at the Playhouse Theatre, and I used to watch the photographer who was doing all the front of house photos for the brochures and all of this stuff. And for about 4 days, he used to turn up on this really fancy bike, which was actually called a Thundercat, and which is a Yamaha model, and I just looked at it, Thundercat. And this guy, black leathers with all his cameras in a rucksack on the back. He used to pull up, all the girls would, miss a heartbeat, and and all the guys looking jealous. And I thought, I got to get into this. After about 3 days, I said, this is too much now. It's just, this guy looks too cool. So I go down to the high street. I'm in the north of England. I book what they call a direct access course. It's a big, 5 days. You do 5 days, 8 hours a day riding, and then at the end of it, you take your test. And that's what I did, because I thought to myself, look, as an actor, obviously there's going to be a day that comes along when they want to know, do you ride a motorbike? You look at the films. There's always a motorbike in these adventure films, and the motorbike chase. you know, and I thought, right, isn't it great that it took 30 years for me to get a job on a motorcycle, hence Death in Paradise.
Oh.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
You see the craziness of that. And then when I get to the age of, you know, I get to my 50s and I actually get a chance to actually use my motorcycle license in a TV show, which is what I originally thought would happen, though it took 30 years. You know, but there it is. I'm on a show, riding a motorcycle. I don't have a stuntman. I do my own riding. And everybody can see it's me. It adds credibility to the character. And there you have it. You know, if you look at this year, I can name you two people. I worked with both of them in 1985, and they both passed away this year, which was David Bowie and George Michael.
Oh, God.
And so people said to me, do not mention any other celebrities you've worked with in 1985. No, they did. It was not funny.
I mean, it's not hysterical. It's interesting.
It's real.
It's real.
It's real.
It's real.
Yeah. It's real stuff. I mean, you know, and these are huge names. These are huge names that cross every boundary. And if you go to the Outer Hebrides, right, they will know who you're talking about.
True.
They will know George Michael, Michael Jackson, James Brown, David Bowie. You can go to the Outer Mongolia, they'll know who you're talking about. Yeah. Right. And then these guys, and then to have two of them go like that, bam, bam.
Well, I wasn't laughing because of their passing being funny. I was laughing because of that hysteria that came up. I mean, people were saying we need to wrap Betty White in bubble wrap, and everybody's saying, you know what, somebody put anybody who's going to there or who you know, you need to put them away, and you know, it's like that hysteria.
I tweeted Betty's picture out when we were doing that dabbing, the dabbing dance, right? And I tweeted out. I was out there and I said, I love the Golden Girls. You know, you guys are from Florida, right?
Yeah.
Right. I had some very good friends that I met on a bus in London who were from Florida. This was 1983, and I'm on a bus and I'm going to do this musical called Time. This was the show I was in when I auditioned for Red Dwarf, 1987. I'm on a bus going to work to the West End, and on comes, you know, the typical sort of group of American tourists get onto the bus. So I'm sitting there, and so, you know, you have, this is why I told you about the Golden Girls. There's this old lady, dear lady from Florida, from Tampa, Florida, you know, where everybody goes to retire, and you know, and she says, well, Frank, you sit over there, I'm going to sit next to this young man here. And, you know, she sat down and they started talking about where they're going to do. Oh, it's such a shame we couldn't get to see Cats. And, I'm so up. You know, it's our anniversary. We were trying to. And then I kind of sat there thinking, you know, I was in Cats. I could make a phone call to the office. Shall I say something? Are they going to think that I'm just, sort of just trying to be nosy, or, you know, am I going to look a little bit dodgy? And so I said, you know, lady, I think I might be able to help you with that. And she was like looking at me as what? You know, I said, well, you know, maybe I can make a phone call and get you some seats reserved to see Cats. And she was like, oh my God, you know, kind of thinking this guy's a crazy man, you know. So I go, okay, listen, I said, I didn't want to say, give me your phone number. I said, look, here's my phone number. Give me a call this evening and I'll let you know. So I get on the phone to the office and I say, look, you know, there's these two people, this old retired couple from Tampa. And I said, I need to get some tickets reserved. I mean, they weren't free tickets. These were just to get the tickets reserved because, you know, every show was always sold out. Right. So anyway, I get two of Cameron McIntosh's house seats reserved for them. Oh. And they phone me up and they say, you know, I said, good. I said, Wednesday matinee, there's 2 tickets in your name. You can go and see Cats on your anniversary. They were like, ooh. I said, oh, by the way, if you're not doing anything tomorrow night, you're quite welcome to come and see the show I'm in, which starred Cliff Richard. And there was a hologram of Laurence Olivier. It's called Time. And so they came and they thought, you know, obviously to get to the stage door in the middle of Tottenham Court Road in the West End, you know, they had to go down 2 different alleys. Mm-hmm. And she's walking down there. She said, well, this is all after they told me the story. She goes, She says, Frank, what are we doing? we're in this dark alley, and we don't know this. We just met this guy on a bus, and anyway, they said as they rounded the corner, there was 100 people outside the stage door because Cliff Richard is this huge star in England.
Yeah.
And she goes, my God, like, it's true. And then she said, Danny, that door opened, and it was like Moses, the parting of the waves. And they walked into the stage door, and they went in, and they met Cliff Richard and all this stuff. So they're telling the people this story because all their friends at home were saying, my God, you guys are crazy. You're taking too many chances. You're talking about 70-year-old people here. So anyway, it turns out we remained friends right until they both passed away. And then they stayed on a place called North B Street in Tampa. And then I many years later, I met I didn't know I had my half brother.
Oh.
Both the guys from Tampa had passed away now, and their son got in touch with me because obviously they'd heard the stories and got in touch with me through her address book and told me that they'd both passed away, And then I found out that my half-brother literally lived around the corner from them.
Oh, God.
So all those years that I knew them, and I stayed at their house, they'd stayed at my mother's house when they came to London once, and all of this stuff. And, and so there you have it, Frank and Irma Kabashinsky.
Aww.
And that is a true story. But I've got loads of stories like that. But you have to be available for that kind of stuff to happen.
Bob the Builder, how'd that come about?
Oh, yeah, that was just another case of Mattel buying that and me just sort of being in the right place at the right time. And then no sooner had I got Bob the Builder that I worked with the original guy that played the character,
right?
Neil Morrissey in Death in Paradise.
Paradise,
but he wasn't chosen to do Bob anymore, so it was quite a difficult meeting, if you could imagine.
Yeah, I can. Danny, are there any things coming up in the near future that you want to tell people about to publicize?
Yeah, I did a short film called Bucky, which is is out there. I just played Don King in a Sky Arts program. Urban
You're
myths.
kidding.
No, you can
Wow.
look that up. Keep an eye on that. And I just did a film called Sound Asleep, and I've just got another 40-episode animation series, a co-production of ITV and Netflix that I'm starting this month. And then Death in Paradise is commissioned, and I'm working on. I'm doing my autobiography so I can do all these stories and get them down,
If you want to find Danny, you can go to DannyJohn-Jules.com. Do you tweet or Facebook or anything?
Yeah, I'm all over the place, man, and,
All right.
Yeah.
So, Danny, I want to thank you for showing up out of nowhere and coming on to Norman's show, but we love having you on.
Cheers, guys. See you guys later.
Cheers. Well, that interview, I was when Norman had no idea who he was. It was funny.
Let me just reiterate, gang, if maybe it was a little bit confusing. We had back-to-back interviews, and we were actually having you may have heard it in the episode, but I just want to reiterate just in case it got a little confusing in there. We were supposed to interview Danny John-Jules and then right afterwards Norman Lovett. It just happened the schedules worked that way. And Danny was running really late, and we almost told Danny, I think we'll just record again. And we had mentioned that, yeah, by the way, we're interviewing Norman. He goes, wait a minute, you're interviewing Norman? We go, yes. And he goes, I want to be on his show, so pull me in about 10 minutes. And I go, really? And he goes, yeah, trust me, he'll be okay with it. And I'm like, oh, boy. So that's how that all landed. But that sometimes the little mistakes become the perfect world for us in Mark 42 land. So there you go.
And that was a great interview. And Norman, please get better quick. I know it's probably just a cold, but, take care of yourself. Drink plenty of OJ. Oh, man.
They have OJ in Britain, or is it called something else?
Oh, that's right. They may think I'm talking about OJ Simpson.
No. I wasn't even going.
Just the juice. Drink the juice.
Oh, my goodness.
So, Christian, do we have any places that we'll be going to in the coming future that have been set in stone?
Yes, we do, Mark. I just want to reiterate some of the conventions that we already announced, so you can go ahead and everybody, our friends, our fans who want to come to those conventions, get those squared away in their calendars right away, because February 19th, we will be in Tampa Bay, Florida, for Time Lord Fest, located inside the Events Factory. It's only one day, February 19th, and we will be hosting panels. Mark 42 booth will be there. You're going to be geeking out. We're going to be having a great time. Definitely, please come on out there. If you want to get your tickets right now, go to our site, Mark 42. You can click on the link there to pick up tickets for Time Lord Fest. Ken Spivey presents Time Lord Fest, one day only. That's Sunday, February 19th. In Tampa Bay, Florida. Also, we're happy to announce a WHOlanta 2017 taking place at the Marriott Century Center in Atlanta, Georgia on May 7th through the 9th. We're going to be there with Colin Baker and Louise Jameson. It'll be the first time, I think it's the second time we've seen Colin, but the first time we're going to see Louise. So we are very, very, very excited to be going out there, hosting panels as well, bring up Mark 42 books and Big Finish for both Time Lord Fest and WHOlanta.
And former guest of the show, Catherine Sullivan, is going to
be that's right, yes. Oh, I forget her. Oh, I'm sorry, Catherine. But we'll be out there with her, with Louise, with Colin, and a host of other very talented people up there in Atlanta, Georgia. But the one that you really want to keep an eye on, there's going to be a grand opening taking place in Ocoee, Florida, Highlander Novelties. It's run by Christian and Wendy, and we are very, very excited to be at our very first grand opening of a store.
Yeah.
Never had that before, and we're not going to have panels, so you guys can come out there and talk to us, geek about Doctor Who, whatever you want to talk about under the sun, including our radio show, Mark 42. There's going to be games, prizes, galore, things happening, special appearances by special guests out there. You definitely want to come. This is going to be taking place February 4th, located at 364 Story Road in Ocoee, Florida.
Yep.
So definitely get ready. I actually came out there and visit out there. Christian invited me earlier for their soft opening. They are open now if you want to go ahead and check them out.
Yeah, they are. They're there now. You can buy your weekly comics there.
Right, but their official grand opening will take place on the 4th, where they'll have all of the items that they're going to be establishing. They have a skeleton's crew of stuff right now up there, but if you just want to say hi to Christian and Wendy, go for it. Go out there and visit them. They're very, very nice people, and definitely I like the fact that we have a comic book store in the area that we can relate to. We have a ton of comic book stores, but nothing that we've had on a personal nature, and this is going to be fun and wonderful. I can't wait to geek out there on the 4th.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. So that's about all the time we have for this show. I'm really glad we did it, and welcome everyone into the year 2017. Like we said at the opening of the show, it's going to be a great year because Doctor Who is coming back. So follow us on Marku42. Go to our Facebook page, Marku42. Tweet us at Marku42. Go to our Tumblr page, Marku42. Definitely, like we said, please, 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 if you were a subscriber on iTunes, resubscribe to our new listing. The old listing is no longer there. We'd love to keep all of you listeners because we love you and we know you love us.
I hope so. They're listening to us.
Any last words you want to say, Christian?
Yeah, I'm just excited about 2017, folks. I'm totally excited to meet our new friends and fans out there. We are expanding. And we can't tell you right now, and we're so excited about the expansion, but that we can't tell you yet. But please keep an eye out on our Facebook site, on our Twitter, on Marku42.net, because a lot of changes are happening to widen our audience load so that people can find out more about us and appreciate what we're doing so we can continue to come out there, go out to conventions, go out to grand openings, continue on bringing you the latest news, reviews, and interviews from the WHOniverse and beyond. 2017, we already have quite a lineup for you guys, and we can't wait until we can put out every episode for you. And please continue just to sponsor us, support us, be there for us, and we will continue to bring you all this fun stuff that we are ready to go for into 2017. We're excited and can't wait. Totally
and
can't.
Support our website, Marku42.net, as well.
Absolutely. Sign up for be the part of the WHOniverse Army so you can get updates on your emails, and plus that you can geek out with us, continue the conversation online as well.
Yeah. Oh, I before we go, I just wanted to also mention Iggy Matthews is usually on the show, is here because she is recovering from the big, enormous rap party they had last night after their premiere show of Keeping It Reals with Let's Be Reals on Blog Talk Radio. That show that she hosts with some other fans of science fiction and the genre is on Blog Talk Radio every Saturday at 9 p.m. So listen to her there and listen to her on Mark Who 42 as well. That's another show under our belt. Wow, 167. That's good.
We should be about 200th episode coming up, isn't it?
Yeah,
wow.
We'll have our 200th episode during 2017. Another reason this year will be huge.
Yes.
So until next time, keep it real, keep it simple, but listen to Mark Who 42. Allons, everyone.
Yeah, I saw what you did there.
Bye. Mark Who 42 was written and presented by Mark Baumgarten, Christian Basel, Iggy Matthews, Zion Kiros, and Patty Hawkins. This episode was edited, directed, and produced by Mark Baumgarten. Visit markwho42.net, where you can register and become part of the WHOniverse Army. We can be contacted by email at mark@markwho42, subject line, ? If you'd like a chance to be a guest on our radio show, send an email to our Media Relations Director, Christian Basel, at markwho42media@yahoo.com. You can have Mark Who 42 entertain at your next event or convention. Go to heroesonhand.com/markwho42. Space Coast Comics is a free monthly magazine found in over 120 locations currently throughout Brevard County, parts of Osceola, Volusia, and Indian River County in Florida, and soon to be available in Chicago. Follow them on Facebook to learn more. Doctor Who and its properties are owned by the BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation. This show is owned and copyrighted by Mark Baumgarten, 2017. This is Krypton Radio.